Do consumers get the same amount of value out of location data that the companies that getting that data get?
Absolutely not. It's very hard, as a consumer, I should get that amount of value, and I should be able to put it to work for myself, and I should be able to glean insights out of it. But right now, that's very hard to do, and it's time consuming, and it sounds like a very tedious task. I'm busy, I have too many other things going on. So there's nothing stopping consumers from getting value out, but from a retail perspective, those retailers have a very strong incentive to understand you, to market you, to cater you, to bring you back and make you a repeat customer. So hopefully in the future that will change. Not that the retailers won't continue to use the information, but that you'll be able to better understand your own buying patterns so as to make your trips to the grocery store easier, because you'll know each time what to buy and you'll never forget the milk.
Sure, okay. How do you see location data evolving in the near term?
Well, I think we're creating so much more location data every day, and 2010 was the year of the check-ins, and the check-ins are still continuing though, and this data is still very disparate. And so what I find slightly concerning is that location seems to be, we all agree that right now we're at the Santa Clara Hyatt at this latitude and longitude, but where you've checked in or where you've tweeted with your location or where you've recorded this in your phone, these are all probably different encodings and different sources. And so hopefully this data will begin to converge. But right now I think there's just a huge, as more players come to the game, there's kind of a distributing of all of this information.
So do you see it sort of generalizing or getting
I
to the
think
point?
that it has to come back together.
Right.
Because in order for us to use that data, and also in order for companies to better utilize it, there has to be some convergence or some agreement or some place to use all of this information, or else we're going to be spending inordinate amounts of time of consoling and merging and trying to see these patterns and trends throughout all these different sources.
I see. And the next question I have for you is kind of a segue into that. Is location data generally well structured, or is it a mess just like all other kinds of data that we run into?
It's always, I feel like it's always a mess, and like everything, it's always a mess. And
Sure.
and one of the reasons it's a mess, we have standards, but the reason that it's frequently a mess is because if there's a lot of people cooking in the kitchen, they're all going to be making different dinners with the same recipes.
Sure,
and so if you've got all these different main courses, how do you see, this all started with the same flour, water, butter, sugar, but we've all made different pastries.
Okay.
So it's, the volume and the structure and the real time, it's all kind of a big, swirly, whirly mess.
Right. With different pastries, right?
Yes.
So the last question I have for you, and I know that you've done some work with 3D before.
Yes.
How do you see 3D and mobile coming together?
Well, a lot of the problems that we had with 3D on physical surfaces that were not phones, where people were so trained by using two-dimensional maps and two-dimensional displays that when it came into 3D, I thought and hypothesized that it would be a natural transition because obviously reality is in 3D, but we encountered a lot of confusion, and especially when we were visualizing location data on our 7-foot spherical surface, people didn't seem to get that you had to walk around to the back to see the other side of the world.
Sure.
It was just this very jarring thing. And so I think that mobile might be a really cool way, especially if using augmented reality, for people to experience 3 dimensions in a natural, physical world instead of on a display. The phone itself might be slightly problematic, but I think that I've seen so many cool things coming out of app companies and app builders that allow you to use the data displayed on your phone and then have it somehow, like I said, augment what is in the physical world. And I think that will really be the aha and the gotcha. And whenever I see these videos of what people have built, my mind is just blown. But if you're strictly looking at a surface, I think it's really hard, especially if someone who is really busy is trying to gain value from something like that. But I think the key advantage that mobile also has is that people frequently use devices when they're really bored or they're waiting in line. And so if you have to bang away at something and you have an almost infinite amount of time, eventually you will make it work.
Yeah, right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.